Welcome to a Sacred Space podcast. I'm your host, Katie Smith. If you're ready to get organized, love your body, and fully connect with your soul, then this is the place for you. Listen in as I discuss all things home, body, and soul, and how to create space in our lives for joy, love, and deep connection. Let's get started. So yesterday I had this crazy day where I was completely on edge. I was so stressed out, to the max, and there wasn't any particular reason to be stressed out. It was one of those days where you are just feeling frustrated and stressed out over literally everything, and that's where I was at. So I was really trying to just sort of be there with my feelings and accept them and all of this, but there was something really nagging me. I know that something's going on here that I'm just not acknowledging. And so later that night, I was just I had gone through the whole day just being basically, on the edge of my seat, I'm watching a horror movie, or I'm on a roller coaster or something, major adrenaline, whatever, for no reason. And so I do this thing every morning that I call truth journaling. And so it's sort of a meditation practice where I write an intention of truth. And it's a specific intention that I actually got from Derek Rydell. So side note, if you haven't heard of him or checked out his podcasts, Emergence and the Abundance Project, I would really encourage you to do that. But so he has this intention of truth, which is more than I want to fix, change, heal, or make anything happen. I just want to awaken to the truth. So I take that and I write it on at the top of the page of my journal, and then I sit in stillness for 10 minutes or however long it takes for my thoughts to kind of calm down, and I focus on my breathing during that time, and then some truth always comes up. So sometimes I'll do this around something specific, or I'll just do it here's my intention of the day, let me know what I need to know. And this is sort of just my connection time with God and allowing whatever's inside of me to come out so that I can live my day on purpose. And it is literally the most amazing practice that I've ever done. So anyways, that day, yesterday, whenever I was having that crazy stressed out edge of my seat day, I was just you know what, I just need to journal about this and I need to know the truth. So I write out the intention, I sit there, and it was basically immediately I hear my inner voice tell me, okay, all week you've had these fears come up, these very specific fears, and you've been ignoring them. You've had these nudges and this little voice telling you, I'm scared about this, I'm worried about that, and you've ignored it every single time. And I tend to do that, if it's something I just don't want to hear about, or it just seems silly or whatever, I just push it to the side. And then it my inner voice was and also, don't forget, this morning when you woke up, you were in extreme panic. Before you were even fully awake, you were in extreme panic, and you just started saying affirmations over and over and over before you got out of bed. And to me, in my mind, that's a good thing, right? But I was doing it with the wrong intention, and I was doing it to push away these feelings that I had been feeling all week that were trying to get my attention. And that was the real issue. And that's the issue that I often struggle with, is aversion, resistance. So all day Sunday, I was just in this place of resistance. And it was these little fears that I was ignoring that were finally pissed, and they were going to come out one way or the other. And so what I decided to do from that point, it was sort of oh crap, yeah, I've been doing that, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't forgotten. And so what I decided to do was have a conversation there were 3 fears, and that were very specific. And I decided to just have a conversation with those fears one by one. So I'm like doing yoga, my little night yoga routine that I do. And while I'm doing it, I'm conversating with my fear. And I'm like, okay, tell me what you need me to know. Tell me how you're feeling, like, just fully embracing this fear. And what was really cool and amazing about it, because I think that I get scared of my fear, like whatever I'm afraid of is actually going to happen. So if I just push it away, it won't happen, which has like literally the opposite effect, because if you push it away, it does happen, or some, variation of it. So, and if you're an empath like I am, then then this embracing your emotions and accepting them and having conversation with them is like 100% necessary. I figured that out. I don't think everyone's like that. But I know, like, for deeply sensitive, emotional people, this is a must. So anyways, this really cool thing happened. So I'm having a conversation with my fear, and for each fear, they each gave me this thing to do that would make me feel better. And it was like super specific. Like just for example, like one of the fears was around money. And I kept pushing that fear around money away because I'm like, I'm fine. I have money. I'm totally okay. Like, why is there this fear? But see, it's like I've created a new belief system around where money comes from. And this has sort of been like, it's been like a slow transition, but it's been like recently that like big groundbreaking stuff has happened around that. So my ego and the part of myself that's used to being worried about money all the time was freaking out. And so that part of myself, I said, yeah, like I totally understand why you're afraid of that. And I totally like get why you're feeling that way. We've spent our whole life feeling this way. So I just acknowledged it. And then I was like, what do you need to do to feel safe? And my little fear around money told me that it was like, just save a little more money and pay more attention to your budget and just cut back on spending for the next couple of weeks. And that will make me feel better. And it was like that simple, like, holy crap. Okay. I can do that, and it's so amazing. It was like so amazing to me because it's like, my fear will actually give me legit advice. It will have a conversation with me and give me like something I can do to make myself feel better inside as I transition. So what this is and what this kind of comes down to is that there are 7 aspects of sacred space, and you can read those on my website, sacredspacewithkatie.com, and it's under the About Me tab. So there's 7 aspects of sacred space. One of them is empowerment, which is ultimately a result of trust. Okay, so building trust comes through small acts. And I believe that it was Brene Brown who had done like a TED Talk or something on this, where she found in her research that the way to building trust with another person is through very small acts of like basically of kindness, of things that build trust, like keeping your promises. And when we break promises to ourselves, we erode our trust. And so recently I had, in the past, like, I don't know how long it's been, few weeks or whatever, I have really realized this. Like, I constantly erode my trust. I tell myself, I'm going to do yoga and I'm going to, do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't do it, or like I start it and then like I stop doing it. And these are promises that I'm making to myself and then I'm breaking. So I didn't really get that at first, but now I do. And so recently I've been like very consistent. I haven't over-promised to myself, because I think a lot of times I get in trouble with that, where I'm like making these huge grand goals and then like I can't meet them because they're basically impossible. I haven't broken them down into like little baby steps. And so I end up breaking the promise because I can't, like literally I can't keep it. So I had discovered that if I break it down into what I can do now, what I am capable of doing now, and keep that promise. And don't add anything on until I've fully integrated that new practice or new, whatever it is, until I've fully integrated it, and then I can add more. So that's what I had decided to do. So I've really been building this trust within myself, and it's like immediately noticeable. Like within a week, I started noticing like, oh, I feel more confident. Like I feel like I really am starting to trust myself. And this is a new thing for me. So, so then, a little while goes on, and then these little fears come up because I'm changing things, because I'm starting to trust myself. So there's all this stuff that wants to come up and it wants to be heard. And maybe it's either that it didn't have a voice before and now it sees room to speak up, or, because it's scared because of all the changes, like whatever it is, these shadows that are inside of me, that are inside all of us, when we start making changes, they want to come up. And if we don't listen to them, and if we don't, have conversations with them, then they're going to blow up in our face. So I'll tell you that yesterday, whenever this happened, I had this baby shower to go to, my cousin's baby shower. And I was like, I'm woke up in that panic that I had completely forgotten about, saying random affirmations from a very wrong intention, and then spent the rest of the morning just completely in resistance mode. So I was completely resisting going to the baby shower and being around a bunch of people that I don't know. And my mom and my daughter were going with me, and I made us 45 minutes late to the baby shower because I was convinced everyone was going to be late and I didn't want to be the first people there, which was absolutely not the case. So we were 45 minutes late. And I wasn't even intending to be that late. I just ended up being that late. And then I just felt very uncomfortable the entire time we were there. And then I didn't hug anyone goodbye when we left. And then we went to the store, and I was just running around like a crazy person. And I kept telling my daughter, I gotta calm down, stop it, just lashing out at her. So this was my day. It was not kind. It was not, it was just me on the edge of my seat. There was no reason for it other than the fact that I hadn't listened to these nudges. I had pushed them away, and now they were blowing up in my face. And so if you have days like that where, stuff is blowing up in your face and you are on edge and you are stressed out and you have no real particular reason to be, and you're in resistance mode, I promise you, have a conversation. Have a conversation with yourself, and you will be just surprised what you discover, with the intention of truth. Know the truth. This is what I want. I want to know the truth around this. That seems to be really the key for me, because I think a lot of times I'll just tell myself stories. And so if I set the intention for truth, I don't get a story. I get, this is how I'm feeling. This is what the issue is. Here's what we can do about this. And that's a whole different ballgame, because you have somewhere to go from there, and you have ground to stand on, and you have connection with yourself, and suddenly you're falling in love with these different aspects of yourself, and you can see them with compassion. You can see your fear with compassion, and you've made a connection with your fear. And I think that's really huge, because so often we see our fears being separate from us, and this big scary thing that we don't want to face, that we don't want to see. And the ultimate reality is that it's not. It's part of who we are. It's part of our nature as humans, and to ignore it is only going to get us really bad results. So, and when I talk to it, when I had this conversation with my fear, there was no fear there anymore. It was like it cleared that out. I wasn't afraid of my fear anymore. I only saw myself with new compassion and understanding of yeah, I know why I feel this way, and it's valid, and I hear you. I hear you. I accept you. What can we do to make this better? And that was very freeing and very amazing. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today. If you have any comments or questions, be sure to, if you're on my website, you can you can head over to my website and leave, your comments and questions on the blog post that pertains to this podcast and let me know, and I'll be sure to respond to you. My website is a sacred space, or no, excuse me. My website is sacredspacewithkatie.com. And that's all I got, folks. Have a good day. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad you chose to join me today. Don't forget to subscribe so you get all the latest episodes right away. And if you love what you hear, leave me a review so that more people can hear it too. You can also register for updates at sacredspacewithkatie.com/podcast. Be sure to check out my website while you're there for all the great resources and free stuff. Have a beautiful day, gorgeous. See you soon.